This is some dumb news in 15 minutes or less. I'm B. Sammy Davis, and let's start with a vibe. Or more specifically, let's start with Walt Disney Company tweeting that 1939 was a vibe. You know, that time in world history where Nazi Germany started World War II and where black Americans were banned from services because of the Jim Crow laws of the South. But things weren't all bad, as in May of that year, Batman was introduced to the world. Oh, and the Disney Company got an honorary Academy Award for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which was a normal statue with 7 smaller statues connected to it. It's cute. And for Disney, it's the only thing that happened in 1939. Their vibing tweet featured a short clip from a new commercial and the words, "Drop into the happy verse." And that's where Disney World got into a little trouble. If you only look at 1939 through the lens of entertainment, there are some neat aspects of that year. But a cursory search of world events from that time shows that for most of the world, 1939 was not a vibe. And Disney World's followers on Twitter were more than happy to point that out. 5 days after sending the tweet, Disney World removed it. I mean, to me, this is mostly funny. The whole gaffe could have been avoided by saying the 1930s were a vibe. Though that's also forgetting that little thing called the Great Depression. But sure, there were major strides in entertainment and fashion, but for most people, it's not really a decade worth remembering, except as a warning for future generations. On the one hand, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs saved the Disney brand, and it makes sense to want to celebrate the year that it got its Oscar. But it takes a lot of tunnel vision to say the whole year was a vibe just because of one movie's success. Then again, a vibe isn't necessarily a positive thing. So maybe Disney World just wanted to remind us that while the world may be burning today, it also burned in 1939. Hey, speaking of Nazis, Kanye West does not own the trademark to White Lives Matter. Instead, 2 black radio hosts scooped it up last month. Ramses Ja and Quentin Ward, hosts of The Civic Cipher, understood West's influence and decided they wanted to own the trademark. CNN reports that while Ja and Ward did not originally file the trademark, one of their listeners did and transferred ownership to Civic Cipher. It appears they plan on sitting on the trademark and blocking it from others using it to sell White Lives Matter products. But what I think is hilarious is that the trademark was filed on the same day that West was seen wearing his White Lives Matter shirt, essentially stopping West from selling the shirt right when everyone was talking about it. I mean, it is sad that Kanye West, who was once controversial for saying that George Bush doesn't care about black people, now loves Hitler and the Nazis. I guess no one told him what Nazis think about black people. The World Cup is a big deal, I guess. I mean, I don't really follow sports in general, but I know that millions of others, including some of you, have been glued to their screens for the biggest event in soccer. Except not everyone was actually watching the World Cup. In France alone, over 40,000 people were watching replays from FIFA 23, complete with World Cup video titles and audio commentary, though that commentary was in Vietnamese. Essentially, people saw the Vietnamese streams and believed that these were pirated broadcasts with poor quality internet connections. In other words, people saw the pixelated players on the field and just thought, it must be a bad connection. Some viewers picked up on the trick after, some close-ups or reading the stream comments. Now, these supposed pirates did gain financially from their trick, earning hundreds of dollars from their streams. But it's not like that money came from buying premium subscriptions. I gotta say, it's a good grift with little or no actual victims. And finally, in Johnson County, Kansas, an Olive Garden manager was fired after demanding some pretty unreasonable requests from employees taking time off. Just in case you somehow missed this tirade, I'm going to read it in its entirety here. Our call-offs are occurring at a staggering rate. From now on, if you call off, you might as well go out and look for another job. We are no longer tolerating any excuse for calling off. If you're sick, you need to prove it to us. If your dog died, you need to bring him in and prove it to us. If it's a family emergency and you can't stay, too bad. Go work somewhere else. If you only want morning shifts, too bad. Go work at a bank. If anyone from here on out calls out more than once in the next 30 days, you will not have a job. Do you know in my 11 and a half years at Darden how many days I called off? 0. I came in sick. I got in a wreck, literally on my way to work one time. Airbags went off and my car was totaled. But you know what? I made it to work on time. There are no more excuses. Us collectively as a management team have had enough. If you don't want to work here, don't. It's as simple as that. If you're here and want to work, then work. No more complaining about not being cut or not being able to leave early. You're in the restaurant business. Do you think I want to be here until midnight on a Friday and Saturday? No, I'd much rather be at home with my husband and dog, going to the movies or seeing family. But I don't. I'm dedicated to being here, as should you. No more excuses or complaints. I hope you choose to continue to work here, and I think we, management, make it as easy as we can on y'all. Thank you for your time, and thank you to those who come in every day on time and work hard. I wish there were more like you. Yes, let's encourage restaurant employees to bring a dead dog into the kitchens. For the past few years, more and more companies have tried to work lean, where they hire as few employees as possible to complete the most work possible. This leads to worker burnout, and many of the pioneers of this type of work have abandoned the concept. I mean, look at Amazon, the company that popularized firing the bottom members of the workforce, even if they were meeting or exceeding expectations. Now, Amazon is having trouble filling positions at all levels of the company, including the executive suite. Service industry jobs are intense. You have to be friendly to every customer, no matter how they treat you. You have to be thinking about dozens of people at once, making sure that orders are accurate and timely. And in the US, you have to do all of this for less than minimum wage, though we justify it with a free meal and shared tips. Politicians and psychologists are constantly talking about the American mental health crisis, but companies refuse to back down from their stance that workers are made to be used up. If management is no longer willing to work in the trenches because you had a death in the family, then that company deserves to fail. Fortunately, this manager will no longer be forcing sick employees to work with customers' food, and dead pets will not be brought through Olive Garden before going to their eternal rest. But what do you think? Should Disney be celebrating the vibe of 1939? Should Kanye fight the trademark for his neo-Nazi fashion? Did you or someone you know fall for the FIFA 23 World Cup streams? Or do you have a boss with an unhealthy desire to see dead pets? Ooh, leave a comment below. I'm B. Sammy Davis. You can find me mostly on TikTok, where I'm still B. Sammy Davis. This has been some dumb news. Thanks for watching.